Now, I had a script for Evokers all written up, but then they went and released the Holy Paladin talents, and I felt a need to talk about them first, since Holy Paladin is my main. Now, I'd like to say that there are some things Blizzard got right. Most of the building blocks of a very good talent tree for Holy Paladins are there, but they aren't all in the right place, and a few important things are absent. First of all, let's talk about the dilemma of the Holy Paladin spec design. Holy Paladins, for the longest time in World of Warcraft's history, were mostly casting either Flash of Light or Holy Light. Each of those heals had a place. Up until Cataclysm, Flash was the efficient but small heal, and Holy was the powerful but expensive heal. Cataclysm made Holy Light the slow but efficient heal, and Flash of Light the fast but expensive heal, and it has been that way ever since. But around Battle for Azeroth, a new playstyle emerged, possibly one Blizzard didn't intend, but that feels very Paladinish, and is usually the preferred style these days, which is to get up close and personal with enemies, build holy power with Crusader Strike, heal with instant heals like Light of Dawn, Light of the Martyr, Holy Shock, Word of Glory, and of course, the healing these provide gets copied over to the beaconed target, except Light of the Martyr usually, that's complicated. But anyway, rarely, if ever, do players using a melee build like this ever press any buttons that have a cast time, i.e. Flash of Light or Holy Light, but some players like me still play the hard casting playstyle. Neither of these two sets of players should look at the Holy Tree in Dragonflight and be disappointed. The talents, conduits, Azerite powers, and legendary weapon traits that play to these styles should be present in the trees and work together to permit builds that specialize either in hard casting or melee healing. And most of the talents that either playstyle would need exist in the tree, but they're not really grouped together. It's as if Blizzard looked at my ideal Holy Paladin talent video and liked the talents that they saw, but then they said, hey, these are great ideas, but we need to make it suck a little more. Instead of grouping the talents that these two groups of players want together, let's mix them up instead. Oh, and let's not include the Denounce and Holy Radiance spells that he and loads of other paladins on the forums are asking for because, well, if we did include those, then the game would be fun, and we can't have that. Okay, that was a bit too much sarcasm, but honestly, Blizzard has made so many anti-fun decisions over the last several years, pruning so many abilities, insisting on keeping anti-fun systems in the game like Azerite armor, covenants, conduits, all of that over alpha testers' objections and warnings, and now what they're doing with the Soar racial ability with Drakthir is just indicating that they aren't doing what they need to do to make Dragonflight a proper expansion to win back the crowd, which is to always, always, always err on the side of the fun factor. Flying around with blinding speed is fun. Don't take the fun out of the game. If this were something that made Evokers utterly dominate in PvP or top the DPS meters constantly, that'd be one thing. But crazy out-of-combat mobility is a feature, not a bug. When I was designing my own ideal trees, Rule 0 was that the fun factor needs to be the top priority at all times, with the cool factor being the second priority. Which brings me right back to the Paladin talent trees, because Rule 3 was never make something a player wouldn't want be a prerequisite for something they do want. Since creating a sense of being forced to waste talent points is not a fun or feel-good design at all. And there's a staple talent of the melee playstyle that is violating Rule 3. I'm talking about Crusader's Might, a talent that reduces Holy Shock's cooldown when you use Crusader Strike, which is way over here on the left-hand side of the tree. But it's got Holy Light as a prerequisite, a spell that a melee playstyle probably wouldn't even use. And the hardcasting playstyle that would gladly get Holy Light probably wouldn't ever take the Crusader's Might talent, since it tells you to be in melee. Crusader's Might looks very out of place where they put it, especially since another set of talents that a melee playstyle would use are way over on the right. Light of the Martyr, Untempered Dedication, and Marad's Dying Breath are great talents for a melee playstyle. And really, Crusader's Might shouldn't be far from these talents. Then there are talents like Tower of Radiance, which causes Beacon to give you holy power when you cast Flash or Holy Light on the beacon. A talent that's clearly in line with a hardcast playstyle, but instead of having Infusion of Light or Illumination as a prerequisite, it has Divine Protection and Saved by the Light as prerequisites. Seriously, Blizzard? I think Tower of Radiance needs to be switched with Focal Light. And it needs another icon. I mean, really, come on. And then there's the lack of Beacon of the Lightbringer. That was a Legion talent that gave us back freedom about where we're allowed to stand in terms of our mastery, and it was a staple of the casting playstyle back in Legion. That older talent should be back in here. And probably Blessing of Seasons shouldn't be. I'm surprised it made it when neither Hammer of the Vanquisher nor Ashen Hallow did. Honestly, Blizzard ought to do what I did with my ideal holy talents. Put the melee playstyle talents on one side of the tree and the casting talents on the other side. Some part of me is hoping that the devs haven't seen my ideal Holy Paladin talents video at all, because if they did, they sorely, sorely missed the point. And not just because they didn't unprune, Denounce, and Holy Radiance either, even though those are things they really should do if they want to win back the crowd. The point of my ideal tree was to make it convenient and fun to customize the Holy Paladin playstyle. Grabbing talents that the other playstyle uses is easy with my ideal talents, but it was never mandatory. And a player using my ideal talents would rarely, if ever, feel like they were forced to spend points on something they don't want to get something they do want. Though there are a few things that make me suspect they did see my ideal Holy Paladin talent videos. I settled on Hammer of Wrath and Lay on Hands as starter talents for Holy and Retribution respectively. I talked about bringing Eye of Tyr back as a capstone talent in the protection tree. I had Tyr's Deliverance and Divine Toll as capstone talents and Holy's talents, all of which Blizzard did. Of course, there's plenty I did that Blizzard didn't do, in spite of how fun and interesting it would be if Hammer of the Righteous were available to other specs as a multi-target holy power generator, and that were the root of the protection talents in the class talent tree. They didn't do that, and that's really disappointing, but that's another video. Anyhow, as fun as it would be to have a direct damage spell with no cooldown, like, I don't know, Denounce, and as cool as it would be to have a projectile spell that uses the awesome spellbook casting animation like, I don't know, Denounce, there's no Denounce anywhere, either in the class tree or in the spec tree. As fun as it would be to introduce new abilities like Uther's version of Holy Radiance, they haven't done that either. As cool as it would be to have an Octagon pick one talent as the capstone talent so that there would be more nifty cool spells deep in the tree to reach for, they didn't do that. As fun and casterish as unpruning the Warlords of Draenor version of Holy Radiance would be, they didn't do that. And perhaps most poignantly of all, they didn't organize the Holy Tree in a way that puts the caster talents on one side and the melee talents on the other side. They mixed it up. I've said it before in this video, and I'll say it again. Most of the building blocks of a great Holy Talent tree are right here, but they're not in all the right places. Here's what I would do with this if it was up to me. I'd pick the right-hand side as the melee talents and the left-hand side for the caster talents. Crusader's Might needs to go over to the right-hand side. I'd make it a child talent of the Bestow Faith and Unending Light talent, or maybe a child of Light of Dawn if that's more aesthetic, and probably I'd make Radiant Onslaught baseline. Baselining a talent is kind of my go-to option for what to do with talents that I don't think fit anymore. One of the big reasons why I go for baselining as my default behavior is that when something's made baseline, then I get it for free. And getting things for free feels fun. Making it a class talent is a viable option, but the class talents are a whole separate video. But of course, either Denounce or Holy Radiance would fit perfectly where Radiant Onslaught was. Probably Holy Radiance should be where Radiant Onslaught was, and then some buff to Holy Radiance, like maybe one that causes it to provide holy power or something should be where Crusader's Might was. If it was up to me, I'd have Denounce either shallow in the class tree or possibly shallow in the holy tree as a very skippable talent. Blessing of Seasons looks like it doesn't belong, and since Beacon of the Lightbringer does, I might switch it with that. I think I mentioned before that I'd switch Focal Light and Tower of Radiance. Tower of Radiance seems like a casterish spell, and Focal Light seems more melee-ish. I'd swap Tyr's Deliverance and Divine Toll and their buffs. Ideally, I'd add more player freedom in the lower tiers so it's easier to get both. I had to spend talent points going down a path that didn't interest me to get both the way Blizzard has it now. I'd have swapped Glimmer and Power of the Silver Hand as well. Again, Power of the Silver Hand is a very casterish talent, and Glimmer of Light is a very melee-ish talent. I sure hope the numbers on Glimmer are balanced so that it's actually worth it. Anyhow, a couple more imprunings. A simple reshuffling and a few more late tree connections would make everything so much better for the Holy Paladin talents. Players would be satisfied. Playstyle would be dependent on talents. Players would have freedom to mix and match. It would fulfill the goals of the talent system. It wouldn't require players to spend talent points on things they don't want just to get things they do want. Oh, it would be so much better with these minor little changes. Blizzard, you said you wanted feedback. You said you wanted a chance to earn back player trust. Here it is. I've spelled out every detail. The what, the why, the how, the goals, the lines of thinking. It's all here, Blizzard. All that's left is for you to respond by actually doing it and giving us a good product.